Hi, my name is Kate and welcome to my channel. Today I continue the conversation with Rachelle Garcia Seliga, who is a midwife and also an author, a trainer of innate postpartum care certification program. I've listened several of your videos where you were talking about the importance of first days and like 60 days after the birth, saying that, if I understood correctly, and correct me if I'm wrong, that it sets up in a way how we're going to parent the child later on. So this is a super important part. And I'm thinking that, quite often we, especially as a new moms, we think, okay, what kind of clothes I need to buy, like what kind of, bed, it's all this stuff, which doesn't have anything with what you're going to encounter in real life. Like you don't give a shit about the clothes because there is something much bigger and complex and challenging. So could you explain a little bit more? What do you mean? Like why these days are so important? And again, what would be your advice probably on how to focus the attention during those days?
So, like all postpartum traditions that I've encountered, and I've encountered many of them, so I can say that it's a global understanding. All postpartum traditions have overlapping premises, right? So it doesn't matter if the postpartum tradition's coming from Mexico or from Russia or from the South Pacific Islands or from China or whatever. All of the postpartum traditions are saying the same thing. They're all saying you have a big lying in period, which literally means the mom is in bed with her baby, right? Being taken care of. She gets up, she goes to the bathroom on her own and like that. But her work during the first about 6 weeks after birth is to rest and to heal and to establish her breastfeeding relationship with her baby. Another cross-cultural teaching is relative to the kind of food we eat. All postpartum traditions teach the same things to eat. They're different, yes, because the land, the environment is different place to place, but it's all warm in nature, warm in temperature, easy to digest, nutrient-dense food after birth. All of them talk about the importance of body work for the mother after birth. All of them talk about the importance of warmth in temperature, warmth in everything after birth. And all of those things in the postpartum time, right, can only happen if there's community. Because from a very practical standpoint, to the deeper understandings of who we are as human beings, dependent on each other for co-regulation, postpartum care can only happen within the context of community, which brings us to the modern day current conundrum. What do most people not have is community? So then it's then there we are, right? So the reason, right, that these traditions exist is because they're based in the physiologic design of a postpartum woman. They're not just good ideas or lofty ideals. What my work is, what I did that I bring out through what I call innate postpartum care is the translation of all of these postpartum traditions into understanding that it's all based upon our physiologic needs. Okay, that's why they're the same throughout the whole world. So then what are the physiologic needs of a postpartum woman, right? And when we understand that these traditions were created to meet the actual needs, not just wants or desires or lofty ideals or whatever, but the actual needs of the postpartum woman, it's to understand that it is with this level of nourishment and nurturance that this mother was able to optimally heal on all levels after growing a human being and birthing a human being through her body. And then through about 6 weeks of this type of nurturance and nourishment, this mother could come up empowered, feeling so good, feeling so nourished, feeling so strong through being taken care of so deeply that she could then best mother her child. Okay. So it's to understand that these these postpartum traditions aren't based on like altruism, like, oh, we're doing this for the mother simply because of worship of mother, although there is that too, but it's the understanding of reciprocity. It's the understanding that the community is invested in the health and well-being of the mothers, because that mother is mothering the future generation of that community. So the community is invested in the mother because the mother is invested in the community ultimately, right? It's a reciprocal thing, and that's embedded in that, okay? So we're living in a time where we have forgotten how to live in reciprocity. We have forgotten the right order of life. We have forgotten so many things that we're repairing right now, that we're piecing back together, right? But the understanding is that how mothers are tended to in that early postpartum time is going to affect her long-term health, okay? So it's the acknowledgement that pregnancy and birth is such a tremendously resource-intensive period, even just on the physical level without tapping into all of the other levels, and how a woman is replenished, right, in her postpartum time is going to determine how healthy she is going forward. So what most of us are accustomed to seeing in the modern world is like having a baby. Either we see this or we experience this. We have a baby and then we're all fucked up, right? We're depleted. We feel bad. We develop autoimmune conditions. It's like women are just a fucking mess, okay? And so then we think, well, then that's normal because it's common, right? So it's common and therefore it becomes normalized. But it's not normal because there still exist places in the world where women receive this kind of care, like in India, right? Where the Ayurvedic postpartum tradition is still intact. And you can also talk with women who are like in their 90s or even past 100 years old who had 7 children but received this level of intensity of postpartum care, and they're in radiant health, okay? And so there's so many levels as to why that is, right? Which is relative to our hormones and the repairing process that needs to happen after growing and birthing human life. But there's also the imprinting that happens, like from a neurological perspective. Everything that I've read, it says that it takes between like 20 to 60 days for us to create new neural pathways in our brain. So like if we're trying to break a habit or create a new habit, right? This is the amount of days that it takes to create actual hard wiring so that like we follow through with these habits. And I don't think it's a coincidence that the world's postpartum traditions are between 20 to 60 days long, because it's creating new hardwiring in the mother's brain. It's an imprinting of, to be a mother means to be nourished, means to be taken care of.
Yeah, you're saying this and I feel like it's not like you have to struggle and you have to get through this somehow.
Right.
It's actually something completely opposite.
Yes. And like most of us received that imprinting of like, to be a mother means you're alone. You have to figure this shit out on your own. It feels really bad emotionally. You feel like something's wrong with you and it's a struggle. And so like, that's the imprint, right? That's the hard wiring that's created when we're in this moment of like the most neuroplasticity that we'll be in our lives is like in pregnancy and birth. Okay. So our brains are being reconfigured through our mothering, and we're being fucking hardwired to believe that mothering is equivalent to struggle and degeneration, right? Because that's how our postpartum periods are. And they're meant to be like delicious and nourishing, and they're meant to make a woman feel like she's being reborn. That's what is meant to happen through a supported postpartum period.
Thank you. Thank you, Rachelle.